The socialist states of America are alive and well. Chairman Trump and Comrade Nutlick are doing incredible things economically in their quest to nationalize every industry and every business in the United States and turn us into a classless, stateless, moneyless, and borderless society. This all began when Donald Trump and the United States government bought a 10% stake in Intel, a private company. Let me just address the elephant in the room. I'm sure that you guys are familiar with my views on the economy. I may have some communist tendencies myself, even though I don't identify as a communist. I think that the nationalization of certain businesses and of certain industries is not just a good thing, but a necessary thing. However, when I think of nationalizing certain sectors, it doesn't extend to commodities. It doesn't extend to consumer goods. It's more so like the energy sector. Nationalize the oil and gas companies. Nationalize the medical industry, right? Universal healthcare. Nationalize broadband and potentially even like telephone companies. Nationalize the railroad. My extent of nationalization extends only to industries and services that are considered, I guess, like infrastructure that people need to survive. Like it is necessary to your existence. I know in some places, it's not the local municipality that owns the water supply. It's a private company. I say that because you need to remove the profit incentive from the energy sector, from the medical sector, because it leads to an unnecessary inflation of price. If the energy sector was nationalized, gas would not be $3.15 a gallon like it just fucking was for me today. It would be wholesale. Whatever a gallon of oil costs to harvest, it is sold back to the consumer at that price. There may be a little bit of an upcharge of like 5 or 10 cents, but then the government could take that profit and put it and use it in like an infrastructure fund. For example, they could use it to give back to the community in other ways. They could use it as like a pension fund, perhaps. The same thing with internet, right? Internet is necessary for today. And it's also like the government is the one who is building a lot of this infrastructure anyway. These companies would not be able to exist without the government. I mean, you could make that argument for literally any business and any company, but I don't think that, the government should step in and, buy up Nike, right? Like, who gives a fuck? If it's a consumer good, you don't need Nike. Like, China does this shit all the time, and I love it. Not only is it anti-capitalist, but it also forces these fucking CEOs to listen to the goddamn government. Like, if I were the president, I would want Jamie Dimon and Tim Cook to be fucking afraid of me. I would want them to fear me, not the other way around. U.S. taxpayers are now the largest shareholder in Intel. What comes next isn't so clear. By the way, this article is titled, What a Stake in Intel Could Mean for U.S. Taxpayers Now and in the Future. The Trump admin announced Friday that the government had taken a 10% stake in the California-based computer chip maker, which has fallen behind rivals NVIDIA and AMD in the artificial intelligence race. Over the past 5 years, Intel's share price has declined more than 50%. The administration has not provided any details about when or under what circumstances it would sell the Intel shares or whether it would sell them at all, nor did it say whether the United States would benefit from any dividends, although Intel has not paid out any since last year. The administration does not plan to take any board seats. Instead, it will only vote against the company only in limited circumstance. Dividends, for example, you could reasonably take the dividends that you get from Intel, which would be like, it's not a lot, right? It wouldn't be a lot in the scope of the federal government, but you could take that and put it into like a public fund, like an infrastructure fund, a pension fund. Norway does this with the profits from its energy sector. It puts it into basically a pension fund, or I don't know if pension fund is the appropriate description of it, but something in that vein, something that would benefit the public. However, the cynic in me knows that Donald Trump is not going to do that. In fact, he's going to take all of this profit and only give it to people who earn more than $1 million a year. While Commerce Secretary Howard Nutlick suggested Friday that national security was a key motivator for taking the stake, President Donald Trump focused Monday more on the prospect of financial gains. Quote, I will make deals like that for our country all day long, Trump said on Truth Social. I love seeing their stock price go up, making the USA richer and richer, more jobs for America. Except that's not how that works. Stock price does not lead to more jobs being made. It just means to fatter checks for the shareholders and more fucking stock buybacks. It doesn't translate to jobs. And then when the stock price goes down, guess what? Microsoft lays off 9,000 fucking people. Intel shares have climbed about 4% since the transaction was announced. Some experts said that while there is a potential upside to the agreement, it represents another norm-shattering expansion of presidential authority by Trump into the business world, and most likely not the last. Already, the Trump administration has taken a golden share in Japan's Nippon Steel as part of a government granting approval to the company's bid for U.S. Steel and giving the government a say in future Nippon transactions. Last month, the Defense Department announced it had purchased $400 million in rare earth miner MP materials, making it the company's largest shareholder. This would also be a fantastic company for the government to just own outright. These rare earth materials, they're a natural resource. Private companies should not be allowed to own natural resources. All right? Yeah, maybe I'm a little bit of a fucking communist in that regard. The White House also plans to take a cut of the sales that chip makers NVIDIA and AMD make to China. Trump told reporters that he hopes to see many more deals like Intel, adding that nobody realizes how great it will be. Kevin Hassett, director of Trump's National Security Council, said similar deals could help form the basis of a sovereign wealth fund, an idea that the administration has floated earlier as a way of giving U.S. taxpayers direct stakes in companies that had yet to fully develop. At some point, there will be more transactions, if not in this industry, in other industries, Hassett said on CNBC. The U.S. stake in Intel does not amount to a complete government takeover. While the federal government has assumed control of private corporations before, such incidents have usually happened during times of crisis and not with the direct intention of trying to play the markets. He's doing this all in a spooky, controversial way, said Clyde Wayne Marks, a fellow in regulatory studies at the Competitive Enterprise Institute, a libertarian think tank. Right now, there is no crisis. Donald Trump is doing this for capitalism. When I do it, it's in direct competition to capitalism because I'm looking to remove capitalism from a select group of industries and sectors. Woodrow Wilson nationalized railroads as well as the telegraph, telephone, radio, and wireless stations during World War I. Nearly 2 decades ago, the government bailed out a host of private firms during the global financial crisis. While the bailouts involved holding corporate assets on the U.S. government's books with the goal of returning earnings to taxpayers, there was never any serious intention to own them over the long term, and a Government Accountability Office study concluded in 2023 that the program ultimately came at a net cost of about $31 billion. The U.S. government has long provided subsidies to private corporations in the forms of loans and grants to varying degrees of success. When you give money to corporations, there has to be conditions like, oh, you have to use this for R&D. You have to use this to expand your workforce. And if you don't, you're going to prison. If you just give them money, what the fuck do you think they're going to do with it? They're just going to put it in the CEO's pocket. 2 high-profile examples came during the Obama administration when the Energy Department provided loans to a solar power company called Solyndra, I guess, and to electric vehicle maker Tesla. Solyndra ultimately went bankrupt, while today Tesla is worth $1.2 trillion in the stock market. Some have argued that the United States would have benefited from having taken a stake in Tesla, yet at the time Tesla received a loan in 2010, beliefs about the free market and the need to limit the government's role in it prevailed not just among Republicans, but among Democrats as well. The Democrats still fucking are super capitalist brained. Quote, our system has not typically been built in that way. It's not how free enterprise is typically run. Okay, is it free enterprise getting subsidies from the government? No, it's not. And in the case of Tesla and all of Elon Musk's companies only exist because of government funding. Free market doesn't exist. The market is not free ever. Even when the market is perceived to be free, there's like 3 or 4 people manipulating it. Free market enterprise is a fucking fantasy. It's not real. History has proven that the more free market approach, making the bottom line for the companies running these operations, is a smarter way to go. Intel's fortune, yeah, this is also just like fucking stupid. It may be better for the company, but it's worse for society. China is the only country that has that has eradicated poverty successfully. When they talk about global poverty being reduced by like 90% or whatever it is, that's virtually all China is doing. And it's because China is a largely anti-capitalist nation that has, at the very least, a command economy with socialist or communist tendencies. Yes, they still operate on the basis of capitalism, but it's not so freely capitalistic. It's not laissez-faire capitalism. And now we have Howard Nutlick talking on, I think, CNBC.
Secretary, why shouldn't the U.S. government say, you know what, we use Palantir services, we would like a piece of Palantir. We use Boeing services, we would like a piece of Boeing. There are a lot of businesses that do business with the U.S. government. that benefit by doing business with the U.S. government. I guess the question is, where's the line?
Oh, there's a monstrous discussion about defense. I mean, Lockheed Martin makes 97% of their revenue from the U.S. government. They are basically an arm of the U.S. government. They make exquisite munitions. I mean, amazing things that can knock a missile out of the air when it's coming towards you. But what's the economics of that? I'm going to leave that to my Secretary of Defense and the Deputy Secretary of Defense. These guys are on it and they're thinking about it. But I tell you what, there's a lot of talking that needs to be had about how do we finance our munitions acquisitions. I think a lot of that is talking. And now you have the right people in the jobs and Donald Trump at the head thinking about what is the right way to do it. I tell you, the way it has been done has been a giveaway.
Yes, I'm making jokes. It's funny. Lockheed Martin is a fucking military. They are the military industrial complex. Okay, like this is this is a fucking horrible company that does horrible things. They bomb children all over the world. But it is funny that the United States government is starting to have this view about certain areas of the economy. Like I legitimately cannot believe that they are espousing communist ideology here. And then you have Paul, whatever the fuck his name is. And once again, it's the right move. It protects these companies. It protects these companies that are critical to the U.S. from taken over by foreign adversaries. So again, like conservatism now is just everything that Democrats do is bad. Everything Republicans do is good. Communism is bad when leftists do it, but not when Donald Trump does it. I don't think like this is okay. I'm all for abolishing the military-industrial complex. If nationalizing Boeing, Raytheon, and Lockheed Martin demolishes the military-industrial complex, yeah, I'm on board with it. However, I still know that the United States is going to continue to kill children all over the world. They're going to continue to bomb Arab children all over the world on their way to school, so I'm not overly thrilled about it. As far as Palantir goes, if I were the president, I would nationalize Palantir and then dissolve the company and deport Peter Thiel to Germany. I'm showing you guys this video just for the entertainment value. I've already discussed my position. I don't believe that like they're doing this altruistically. They're not doing this on their quest. This isn't their end goal on their quest for socialism. It's merely like another power grab. It's a consolidation of power. They're looking to exploit the market for their own personal gain. I'm just really surprised that we're having mainstream discussions about communist theory in 2025.